Chapter 25. There are, of course, many problems connected with life, of which some of the most popular are: why are people born? Why do they die? Why do they want to spend so much of the intervening time, wearing digital watches? Many, many millions of years ago, a race of hyper-intelligent pan-dimensional beings, whose physical manifestation in their own pan-dimensional universe was not dissimilar to our own, got so fed up with the constant bickering about the meaning of life, which used to interrupt their favorite pastime of Brockian ultra cricket, a curious game which involves suddenly hitting people for no... Sorry, let me rewind it. Many, many millions of years ago, a race of hyper-intelligent pan-dimensional beings, whose physical manifestation in their own pan-dimensional universe is not so dissimilar to our own, got fed up with the constant bickering about the meaning of life, which used to interrupt their favorite pastime of Brockian ultra cricket, a curious game which involved suddenly hitting people for no readily apparent reason and then running away. They had decided to sit down. They got so tired of this question that they decided to sit down and solve the problems once and for all. And to this end, they built themselves a stupendous supercomputer, which is so amazingly intelligent that even before its databanks had been connected up, it had started from "I think, therefore I am," and got as far as deducing the existence of rice pudding and income tax before anyone managed to turn it off. It was the size of a small city. Its main console was installed in a specially designed executive office, mounted on an enormous executive desk of finest ultra mahogany, topped with rich ultra red leather. The dark carpeting was discreetly sumptuous. Exotic pot plants and tastefully engraved prints of the principal computer programmers and their families were deployed liberally about the room, and stately windows looked out upon a tree-lined public square. On the day of the great on-turning, two soberly dressed programmers with briefcases arrived, and were shown discreetly into the office. They were aware that this day would represent their entire race in its greatest moment, but they conducted themselves calmly and quietly as they seated themselves deferentially before the desk, opened their briefcases, and took out their leather-bound notebooks. Their names were Lunkwell and Fook. For a few moments they sat in respectful silence. Then, after exchanging a quiet glance with Fook, Lunkwell leaned forward and touched a small black panel. The subtlest of hums indicated that the massive computer was now in total active mode. After a pause, it spoke to them in a rich, resonant voice. It said, "What is this great task for which I, Deep Thought, the second greatest computer in the universe of time and space, have been called into existence?" Lunkwell and Fook glanced at each other in surprise. "Your task, O computer," began Fook. "No, wait a minute. This isn't right," said Lunkwell, worried. "We distinctly designed this computer to be the greatest one ever, and we're not making do with second best. Deep Thought, are you not, as we designed you to be, the greatest, most powerful computer in all time?" "I described myself as the second greatest, and such I am." Arthur worried. Another worried look passed through the two programmers. Lunkwell cleared his throat. "There must be some mistake. Are you not a greater computer than the Milliard Gargantubrain at Maximegalon, which can count all the atoms in a star in a millisecond?" The Milliard Gargantubrain? A mere abacus. Mention it not." "And are you not," said Fook, leaning anxiously forward, "a greater analyst than the Googleplex star thinker in the 7th galaxy of light and ingenuity, which can calculate the trajectory of every single dust particle throughout a 5-week Dagobah beta sand blizzard?" "A 5-week sand blizzard," said Deep Thought haughtily. "You ask this of me, who have contemplated the very vectors of the atoms in the Big Bang itself. Molest me not with this pocket calculator stuff." The two programmers sat in uncomfortable silence for a moment. Then Lunkwell leaned forward again. "But are you not," he said, "a more fiendish disputant than the great hyperbolic omnicognate neutron wrangler of Ciceronicus 12, the magic and indefatigable? The great hyperbolic omnicognate neutron wrangler, said Deep Thought, thoroughly rolling the R's. Could talk all four legs off an Arcturan megadonkey, but only I could persuade it to go for a walk afterwards. Then what, said Fook, is the problem? There is no problem. I am simply the second greatest computer in the universe of space and time. But the second? Why do you keep saying the second? You're surely not thinking of the multi-corticoid perspicutron Titanmuller, are you? Or the Pondermatic? Or the contemptuous light flashed across the computer's console. I spare not a single unit of thought on these cybernetic simpletons, he boomed. I speak of none but the computer that is to come after me. Fook was losing patience. He pushed his notebook aside and muttered, I think this is getting needlessly messianic. Messianic? Messianic. You know nothing of future time. And yet in my teeming circuitry, I can navigate the infinite delta streams of future probability and see that there must one day come a computer whose merest operational parameters I am not worthy to calculate, but which it will be my fate eventually to design. Fook sighed heavily and glanced across to Lunkwell. Can we get on and ask the question? Lunkwell motioned to him to wait. What computer is this of which you speak? I will speak of it no further in the present time. Now, ask what else of me you will, that I may function. Speak. They shrugged at each other. Fook composed himself. Oh, deep thought computer, the task we have designed you to perform is this. We want you to tell us. He paused. The answer. The answer, said Deep Thought. The answer to what? Life, urged Fook. The universe, said Lunkwell. Everything, they said in chorus. Deep Thought paused for a moment's reflection. Tricky, he said finally. But can you do it? Again, a significant pause. Yes, I can do it. There is an answer, said Fook with breathless excitement. A simple answer, added Lunkwell. Yes. Life, the universe, and everything. There is an answer. But I'll have to think about it. A sudden commotion destroyed the moment. The door flew open, and two angry men wearing the coarse faded blue robes and belts of the Cruxwin University burst into the room, thrusting aside the ineffectual flunkies who tried to bar their way. We demand admission! Shouted the younger of the two men, elbowing a pretty young secretary in the throat. Come on, shouted the older one. You can't keep us out. He pushed a junior programmer back through the door. We demand that you can't keep us out, bawled the younger one, though he was now firmly inside the room, and no further attempts were being made to stop him. Who are you? Said Lunkwell, rising angrily from his seat. What do you want? I am Magic Thief, said the older one, and I demand that I am Rumenfell, shouted the younger one. Magic Thief turned on Rumenfell. It's all right, he explained angrily. You don't need to demand that. All right, said Rumenfell, banging on a nearby desk. I am Rumenfell, and that is not a demand. That is a solid fact. What we demand is solid facts. No, we don't, exclaimed Magic Thief in irritation. That is precisely what we don't demand. Scarcely pausing for breath, Vroomfindel shouted. We don't demand solid facts. What we demand is a total absence of solid facts. I demand that. I may or may not be Vroomfindel. But who the devil are you? Exclaimed an outraged Fook. We, said Magic Thief, are philosophers. Though we may not be, said Rumenfell, waving a warning finger at the programmers. Yes, we are, said Magic Thief. We are quite definitely here as representatives of the amalgamated union of philosophers, sages, and luminaries, and other thinking persons. And we want this machine off, and we want it now. What's the problem? Said Lunkwell. I'll tell you what the problem is. Oh. I'll tell you what the problem is, mate, said Magic Thieves, because he's British now, because he said mate. Demarcation, that's the problem. We demand, yelled Roomfindel, that demarcation may or may not be the problem. You just let the machines get on with the adding up, one Magic Thief, and we'll take care of the eternal verities, thank you very much. You want to check your legal position, you do, mate. Under law, the quest for ultimate truth is quite clearly the inalienable prerogative of your working thinkers. Any bloody machine that goes and actually finds it, and we're straight out of a job, aren't we? I mean, what's the use of us sitting up half the night arguing that there may or may not be a god if this machine only goes and gives you its bleeding phone number the next morning? That's right, shouted Roomfindel. We demand rigidly defined areas of doubt and uncertainty. Suddenly a stentorian voice boomed across the room. Might I make an observation at this point? Inquired Deep Thought. We'll go on strike, said Roomfindel. We demand rigidly area... Oh, sorry. That's right, said Magic Thief. You'll have a National Philosopher strike on your hands. The hum level in the room suddenly increased as several ancillary bass driver units, mounted in sedately carved and varnished cabinet speakers around the room, cut in to give Deep Thought's voice a little more power. All I wanted to say, bellowed the computer, is that my circuits are now irrevocably committed to calculating the answers to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. He paused and satisfied himself that he now had everyone's attention, before continuing more quietly. But the program will take a little while to run. Fook glanced impatiently at his watch. How long? He said. 7.5 million years, said Deep Thought. Lunkwell and Fook blinked at each other. 7.5 million years? Yes. I said I'd have to think about it, didn't I? And it occurs to me that running a program like this is bound to create an enormous amount of popular publicity for the whole area of philosophy in general. Everyone's going to have their own theories about what answer I'm eventually going to come up with, and who's better to capitalize on that media market than you yourselves? So as long as you can keep disagreeing with each other violently enough and slagging each other off in the popular press, and so long as you have clever agents, you can keep yourselves on the gravy train for life. How does that sound? The two philosophers gaped at him. Bloody hell. Now that is what I call thinking. Here, Roomfindel, why did we never think of things like that? Dunno, said Roomfindel in an odd whisper. Think our brains might be too highly trained, Magic Thieves. So saying, they turned on their heels and walked right out the door into a lifestyle beyond their wildest dreams.